Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is a special edition covering the situation in the region and to shed more light on the developments that are taking place in the region and the Israeli strikes on Iran and Iran's strikes on a number of Arab countries. We have the pleasure to have with us over the phone our dear guest, His Excellency Ambassador Raouf Saad, former Assistant Foreign Minister. Good afternoon, Your Excellency.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Well, Your Excellency, how did you follow the intensified contacts done by President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, also the Foreign Minister Badr Abdel Ati, with a number of their counterparts in the Arab countries?
Well, the kind of explosions or implosions that have taken place or are taking is taking place between United States, Israel on one side and Iran is such a big threat to the whole region. Egypt's position is defined in two aspects. One, Egypt is not part of the atrocity and between the two sides. But meanwhile, Egypt is threatened by two dangers. One is the instability of the region, which would affect the region and all its countries, regardless whether they are part of the conflict or outside of it. Two, that Egypt in particular will be heavily inflicted by the consequences and implications of the war taking place between the two sides, and particularly in terms of if you close the Hormuz, or that would affect them. I mean, just to make it short, and then the war, which is covering the Red Sea and would reach the Suez Canal, would affect Egypt heavily. You know, particularly from its economic development, but particularly at a period where the Egyptian economy is rising, you know, positively and is being appreciated by the IMF, so on and so forth. So Egypt's position is governed by the only thing that Egypt would do is that would focus as, and here I would like to underline, it's the country that is not part of the conflict. The second is a country that is highly respected due to its position, due to its strength, even from different aspects, and that to seek, you know, to bring the parties back to the negotiating table. In this regard, you know, Egypt has declared its position with the support, full support, political support for the Arab countries that were subjected to this aggression. Without, I mean, we'll have to be realistic and pragmatic in this regard. That does not impede that Egypt could, unless it is doing that so far, could have a certain a circle or a channel of consultations with the Iranians themselves, in a way of you know, to recommend, to help, and the Iranian side to reach a meeting point with the other parties, together with the consultations with the American and the Israeli side.
Yes.
But there is something very clear from this this new situation is while the negotiations were you know, going through a relatively progress process, the attacks took place in a sudden manner, which reflects that there is an agenda. I mean, an agenda from Israel, an agenda from the United States, and on one side, and the agenda, Iranian agenda has its own national well, self-defense, and as well as to maintain its sovereignty over its resources, whether nuclear or whatever, or the enrichment and all these kind of problems. So the problem here, that means that no matter even that if the hostilities will come to an end briefly, that does not mean that the conflict is over. And that would put a responsibility on Egypt in order to pursue actively and extensively its consultations and advice to all parties in order to bring back stability at a point where Egypt really is under a compelling priority to continue its economic development and in view of the rise of tourism and the gradual return of navigation in the Suez Canal. So that's the point that Egypt will pursue, taking into consideration that Egypt's position is enjoying high respect from all parties, even from Israel and the United States and Iran and the Arab countries and the Europeans. All parties, have learned the lessons of the Gaza war and the Egypt position, which has enabled all parties to bring an end to the war in Gaza, even temporarily.
Yes, yes. Your Excellency, Ambassador Saad, in President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi's statements and during the contacts he made with Arab leaders, the President stressed the stance calling for prioritizing dialogue and peaceful means to settle the region crisis and to settle the priority of diplomacy. So how did you follow his statements?
That confirms what I have been saying. This is Egypt in its unique position, as I said, as not party to the problems of the conflict, and as a strong country, and a highly respected country. And with the lessons learned by the whole world of Egypt's ability and capacity in order to control the situation and to bring the parties back to a relatively peaceful position between the Palestinians and in Gaza and the West Bank and Israel. So it has its kind of, I would say, strength that its advice and its ability to move among all parties, including Iran, would confirm, that the impacts expected from such an intervention, which is needed by all parties. That when the parties get into this kind of hostility and the severity of the dangers and the casualties, the all parties, whether part or outside parts of the conflict, need an operator, needs an intervention by a strong party, which Egypt is in a unique position to do that responsibly.
Yes, yes. Also, the efforts exerted by the foreign ministry in Egypt, on top of which, of course, the foreign minister Badr Abdel Ati, with the intensified contacts and negotiations concerning the situation. Also, is it the right time to say that diplomacy is now the time, or to come to the table of dialogue, or when the war is already there?
This is the ideal timing for diplomacy. I mean, there is no other option but diplomacy. Yes. And that, if we cannot, there is a kind of compatibility between the contacts taking place by His Excellency the President, and by the steps are being taken by the Minister of Foreign Affairs. They are just two sides of the coin, but under the auspices and authority of the President. So there is no other option. I mean, it's between peace and war. The only modality in order to bring, the war into peace is diplomacy.
Yes. Yes. Also, the situation in general concerning the diplomatic situation between the Arab countries and the situation of the diplomacy and the embassies. What about the Egyptian embassies in the hit countries that were hit by the Iranian strikes? What is the situation now there, and the coordination that is taking place between the Ministry of Foreign Affairs here in Egypt and the consulates in 7 or 8 Arab countries hit by the Iranian strikes?
But this is a major responsibility of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Egypt altogether, in order to care about the Egyptian workers, expatriates working in the Arab countries. And what is positive in this regard, that this attention and care is being conducted by both the host countries as well as Egypt. So so far I hope that we will that the Egyptian workers will not be hit by the hostilities taking place. But take into consideration that, of course, the hits or the attacks in the Arab countries are focused on military locations. So, but our responsibility is, and I'm sure that the instructions have been already issued to all consulates and embassies in the Arab countries, not only the countries that were subjected to attacks, but also all Arab countries everywhere, as well as watching the situation around the region, because could hopefully not that that the war would expand in order to bring other parties, just in case. But we have this kind of experience, in order to care about our sons, brothers, sisters, fathers, even grandfathers who are working there, just to ensure their security and a healthy situation in this conflict.
Yes, I thank you very much for your time. Thank you for your valuable information, Your Excellency Ambassador Raouf Saad, former Assistant Foreign Minister. Really had the honor to have this phone with you. Thank you very much.